Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Thomas Clan. So today is going to be part one of our garden planning series, which we're going to talk, which is going to be a couple of parts. I think 3 parts right now, but we might go to 4 parts depending on how long these videos are. The main purpose of these videos is to actually plan the garden, because planning is one of the most important parts of success in a lot of things, but especially in your garden. So the first thing, I'm going to kind of take the idea of a beginning gardener or somebody who has very little experience, maybe only a year or two, or is somebody who's only had small space and now has a much bigger space. If you have a little bit more experience, you're still going to watch these videos because there's going to be some good information, and at least at a minimum, things to keep in mind, maybe some things that you haven't heard before. So, the first thing that you need to know when you're planning your garden is how much space do you have. Seems simple enough. Do you have a small garden, a 10 by 10, an 8 by 12, maybe really crazy like my first garden on my own without the help of my family, which was 5 feet by 14 feet, something like that. Is what's your shape? What's your size? And once you know that, you can kind of guess what would fit. When I had a garden that was 5 feet by 14 feet, which is only 70 square feet total, obviously you can't plant a bunch of squash. You need to plant things close together, and you need to make sure you make the most of every inch without overcrowding the plants, without disallowing success. Or do you have something huge? Do you have a 30 by 30? Do you have a 50 by 100? Knowing how much space you have is going to be instrumental to how you treat what you grow and how much of it you grow. So, taking the idea of, say, a 16 by 20 garden, which is a pretty good medium to slightly above average size for the typical beginning home gardener, might be a little bit more, somebody who's pretty zealous, maybe trying to overachieve a little bit, because 20 by 16 is a pretty good sized garden. So taking that idea, you're probably looking at getting 8 full rows of vegetables at 16 feet long. So looking at 8 16-foot rows, you're going to want to prioritize what you're growing, things that you eat a lot of, which that's actually going into the next step. The next part of this is what you eat the most of. What's the point of growing, say, radishes if you don't eat radishes? That's like my family. Nobody at my house eats radishes with any consistency. I'll have the occasional one, but besides that, so there's really no use for putting them into the garden. Another example for my family is broccoli. We don't eat a ton of broccoli, but we love it, and we would eat more. And it's also something that, at least in our area, can get expensive at times. So being able to grow and produce some would be very instrumental. But needing to grow a whole huge amount, not necessary. Something like tomatoes, where are we slicing up a lot of tomatoes for sandwiches? No, we don't make a ton of sandwiches. Well, we do, but not the kind that you put tomatoes on. At least not to me, unless you like tomatoes on your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like what the kids are eating. But the tomatoes that we are using more of are the sauce tomatoes to make spaghetti sauce, to make paste, to make salsas. So we're using those types of tomatoes. So why would we, make the mistake of what I did last year, growing a whole bunch of brandywine tomatoes, when I could have grew more Romas and San Marzanos and Arkansas Travelers would be another great variety, or a Bulka tomatoes, another great fantastic variety for sauce. So you're also gonna, so just a couple other examples are, do you have the space for things like corn? Corn is a great thing to grow. Generally in this country, we eat a lot of corn. It's native to this side of the world, though maize or corn doesn't look anything like maize did, or Tacinte, which is the original corn. So do you have space for something like corn? It's incredibly inefficient for space, but if you eat a lot of it, maybe you want to grow some. And then also how much time do you have? So potatoes are a fantastic crop to grow. To not have to worry about the stuff that they spray. All potatoes in stores, at least if they're non-organic, are sprayed with a sprout inhibitor. There's chemicals being sprayed onto your food, which there's chemicals sprayed onto just about everything in the grocery store. But even still, going over to the organic potatoes, they're still processed in the same fields and the same factories as the non-organic potatoes, and sometimes get a lot of the same stuff on it, where you're still eating these things. But do you have the time to be digging all the potatoes out of the ground in late summer and fall? And so you have to take all of these things into account when planting your garden. I think that making sure you're going to eat what you grow is probably the most important part, and also making sure you have space. I want to show you guys what I've done is I made some lists here, and I don't know how well you can read that, but these are all things I'm going to be growing in my large garden at the lodge. Then these are going to be different varieties and plants that I grow at my family's vacation home in New Hampshire. And then these are all ideas of what to plant in containers and in our vertical garden at our new home. And so I've made these lists so I know what I want, and I'll prioritize, and for home, tomatoes are very expensive in stores around us. $4 a pound for non-organic for most of the year, and we use a lot of it. Ketchup, tomato sauces, sandwiches at times. Below that, peppers kind of go up and down in price, aren't crazy, but we use a lot of them. Stir fries, back to salads, sauces, salsas. Potatoes, onions. We put onions in. We use onions probably 4 or 5 times a week. We're going through like 5 pounds of we probably go through 5 pounds of onions a week. That might be an exaggeration, but we use a lot of onion. Carrots, the broccoli, eggplant, cucumber. We make homemade pickles. A couple of the kids love to eat pickles. I don't, but they do. And pickles at the store are expensive. And then zucchini and summer squash, where it's just delicious. And then up at the cabin where we're gonna have a lot of space, something that doesn't get as much time put into it. So when we're planning out the garden at the cabin, my family's vacation home, it's going to be completely different, because with the lodge, that's down the road. I can be there multiple times a week. I can really stay on top of things. I can thin seedlings if I need to. I can I can really treat and keep track of things. With the cabin, with the vacation homes garden, I'm there once a month, once every 6 weeks, something like that, for a couple of days. So I need plants that once they get going can pretty much grow on their own. Something like pumpkins, or the winter squashes like the butternut squash. I'll put more potatoes up there, just so that way I'm not using all my space in the other garden. Things like the dry beans, or dry pole beans, where I know that they need time to grow, they need time to sit and dry out, where they don't really need much of my attention. they need to sit there and grow. And if anything, they need me to stay away from them because I have a tendency to eat them when they're young. You know, things like rhubarb and asparagus, where they can come up year after year after year, which will be an actual little side area away from the main part of the garden up there. And then at home, I'll grow like the little herbs, the things I want to go grab whenever I'm cooking. Oh, I need this for flavor. I need some cilantro. I need some thyme. I need some oregano. I need some parsley. You know, basil I'll probably grow in the main garden since it needs a little bit more, at the lodge since it needs more space. So having, now this is a lot of information I'm throwing at you, but having these plans and all these questions answered is going to help you with planning your garden. How much, so just to break it down real simple, you know, what do I eat a lot of? How much space do I have? What's the most effective use of my space? You know, again, corn, inefficient, cheap in stores, versus tomatoes, very expensive, very easy to grow, very efficient for your space. Squash, getting 10 to 15 plants off of a vine, out of one bush plant, I should say, as opposed to carrot. One seed equals one carrot is one plant, though how many can you fit in each space, but it's the amount of effort put in. And then last but not least, how much time do you have? How often are you there? How much time can you spend looking over it to make sure that it's successful? Where, for example, the vertical garden outside my front door, I'm going to be there every day. Things I can pay attention to. The lodge, I'm there multiple days a week, and it's something where I can pay attention, I can get things done, I can keep things moving. Or my cabin, I'm there once every 4 to 6 weeks for 2 or 3 days, and you know, so I'm not going to be thinning seedlings, that's for sure. So that's pretty much it for part 1. I'm going to get started on part 2 right after this, and which you'll get to see next week. I hope you guys enjoy. Share anything that I might have missed in comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, and don't be shy. We love to hear back from you at home, and we want to know if we're missing anything, if we have anything wrong, or if we should talk about anything a little bit more. So again, thank you all for watching. Hope to see you guys again real soon. Thanks. Bye.